building. High priestess in the building, didn't let my fears kill me. Transmuted my pain in that cleanse in the rain. Down out, I was worth it and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became.
Yeah, the provide protect thing. Some men think that that's like that's how they show their love. Like, hey, I go to work, that's me showing I love you. I pay the bills or whatever. But
Right.
going through this last year and like getting sober and working the steps through A and stuff, like I really learned I didn't have any self-worth before, and I really wasn't in love with the person that I was, and those internal conversations were a conversation of feeling, like I'm not enough, or I may never be enough, or, entering a relationship, like, how is she going to view me? And that's not having any, love for yourself and speaking your truth. Like this just happened recently, sometimes in a relationship, like I'll get into a relationship and, I have a hard time hurting people's feelings, like I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And by not wanting to hurt somebody else's feelings and tell them how I really feel, I let the relationship drag on longer than it probably should.
Mm-hmm.
And, you end up losing that self-respect for yourself and end up losing yourself in that, because you don't really want to be in the relationship anymore, but you don't want to hurt any, like, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings because, I don't want that. I don't want them to view me as, an asshole or, the bad guy or a monster or this or that. Like I use them, but I don't get into a relationship to use somebody. I get in a relationship because I feel there's a connection and I feel like we connect on some level. And at some point you get into a relationship and it's just, you guys just don't have that spiritual, like what you guys talk about, the spiritual, emotional connection, and it's just not there. And you realize it in as adults, like, and as men and women, like, I think at some point you have to say, like, hey, this just isn't working, and just will be able to walk away. It's hard though, because usually when you walk away, there's so much hostility, whether it be the man or the woman.
Right.
It can never just be like a mutual, like, hey, we're going our separate ways type deal.
I was gonna go back to what Joe said about the honesty, right? About that, just being honest with what you truly want, what you truly need. And when it goes to communication, most people cannot articulate what they truly need in a particular situation. Too many people need the other person to make them happy is one of the bad problems, right? We're coming into this dating and I already expect you to light up my life and make my life interesting. Now we're going to go on, dating, and we're going to go on trips and we're going to do all this shit together. And then the person's like, yeah, but I don't want to do any of that. And the other person's like, well, what the fuck you mean? I think people miss that in the beginning of what dating and relationships are. I think a lot of people, male and female, believe that the other person is going to complete their life. And I do understand how love makes us feel. It's intoxicating when you're in the moment in that chemistry. But again, it's a little delusional, right? Because we're going in wanting this person to create this happiness for us, which you've seen, all of us have seen, we haven't created it for ourselves first. So how can you be happy with someone and you haven't even done that work to go in and say, what the fuck does make me happy? Like.
Well, that's what I was going to say before is I'm spiritual, but like I tell people all the time, like, don't think that being spiritual is this, like, you're going to be at this state forever, every day. Like, I had to go through more shit to go to different emotions. Like, I'm a great person. I love people. But I've been in relationships where I was taken to levels of, like, what the fuck? Like, we're here. All right. And I'm proud to say that because it just brought me to those experiences of, okay, I never want to have to experience that so much that I'm going to sit here with it and think about what did I not see. And there was plenty of things I didn't see, but it was mainly like we keep looking for someone to provide us with this self stuff we're not healing, like you said. So I had to go through that again to realize, okay. And then I had to sit with myself more.
Right.
But I think really, and I don't know why some people just keep repeating the cycle. They'll find the same person in someone else.
Right.
And they haven't healed this trauma from being cheated on or whatever. We're all different.
Right.
But for me, as I'm like progressing with experiences, it's like, okay, what do I want?
Right.
Do I really want a committed relationship right now? What does that look like if it is? Like, even my guides told me recently, you need to actually, they told me the same thing you did. What type of person in detail, in a specific detail, not like just features, like
Right.
these little things that we're talking about are pretty big. And we have to get to that point because everything we were been shown as a kid and all this, and it's no one's fault, but it is and it isn't. It's like
Right.
an evolution of illusion.
Right.
We realize like, oh, it's not supposed to be this way. Oh wait, this is how I feel. How does that? Wow, it feels great. There's still a lot of people that are, and we, as I say, we're all light beings because we're all growing our light.
Right.
You're gonna attract those people still because they're
Right.
gonna go, hi, who are you? You're great, and you're gonna be like, oh, we already know, like, hey, how's it going?
Right.
But we're on a planet right now of different consciousnesses that are still learning. We're all learning, and who's at that level learning, but it sucks.
Right. I wanted to touch something that Kyle said. He said about his self-worth. And I wanted to touch that because I know that women struggle with it too, but I think there is that misconception of what self-worth is. So do you feel like as men, do you feel you were taught what true self-worth is for you?
No.
No, not really. I mean, men have the same, like, go through the same insecurities that women do, you know, like body dysmorphia. You don't feel like you're good enough looking. You're not this, you're not that. And then, you know, I guess you're taught self worth as a man is, you know, you have a good job, you're able to, you know, it's more like materialistic. It's just, I don't know. We, as men, you're not really taught that. You're just taught to,
Right.
be strong, you got to get through it. Life's going to be hard. And I feel like sometimes the world is a little different when it comes to raising a boy and raising a girl and how you go about that, because when you're a man, it feels like when you're going through something, it feels like, and this is probably a little bit of like being a bad communicator or being able to reach out for help, but you feel like no one's going to be there to get you when you fall down. You got to be able to be resilient, be able to overcome adversity and be able to get yourself through something. Whereas a woman, it seems like, like you'll have more support, maybe like from family or something like that. Whereas a man, it's kind of like, hey man, you're 30 years old, you got to figure it out. I can't help you out.
Right.
So I don't know. Wasn't really taught that, I guess.
Yeah, I think I bring that up because I think a lot of men, their self-worth is pushed to materialism, and they have to have that prestigious job and they have to have this, and it's not for everyone. Not everybody sees men, and I think that's where the gap comes into it, because by the time you realize that you got to go through some shit, right? You got to go through some shit and say, oh damn, not everybody is like this. Okay, so now
Mhm.
I've learned.
I
um
was intimidated by that, like insecurity for a while,
mhm,
because my career, I had a lot of experience as a chef, but it was never consistent. Like I'm a person that life's gonna bring me where life's gonna bring me,
mhm,
and if it's a year, 6 months, and so events would happen. But I learned so many different perspectives of it in the kitchen.
right,
So my career went to automotive. So there was still these thoughts of needing to be looking successful and not just being like, it would
right,
come to like a full moon, right? Something would be like,
right,
wow, what's going on with my life? I'm not where I want to be. And this was actually just recently too with me. It just hit me
right,
all at once. Like I couldn't avoid it.
right,
And I was depressed because I was thinking about how I'm still not where I would like to be and this and that. And there's this spiritual aggravation where it's like, I'm putting so much energy into this. I've had experiences. I know it's going to happen this way.
right,
I'm going to trust it. You get aggravated, like it's not here yet. But I had to learn being okay with being in the present moment. But
right,
yeah, also with dating, there was a point of, I had a lot of used cars growing up. And my last car before was a beat up Volkswagen Beetle 5-speed. I liked it, but it
right,
was still embarrassing because it was falling apart. And so we have this thought sometimes of, am I good enough? And that's where we have to heal, because
right,
when we're actually realizing, if you love me for who I am, car, what I have now or not, I'm living at home
right,
with my parents still, I'm 31. You realize like you're where you're supposed to be. And if
right,
someone doesn't like you just because of what you have or don't have, that's not going to be cool. because
They're
they're
not
gonna either
ready.
push you to go get it and you're not ready for it, or you didn't
Right.
learn from it, or when will you be good enough? And that's for men and women. Um, I think that there's a big problem too with I'm gonna do this thing, and someone puts a lot of work into themselves for someone else.
Right.
Like I'm gonna go get a whole new education because this person I'm with wants me to do that, and they believe in
Right.
me, so I love them, and I'm doing it. We do it with parents too, but
Right.
doing something to please someone, and if you're doing that in the wrong intention, you're not doing it for yourself, and you're not going to be happy. Because when will you be happy? When they're happy with you? And it's not just that; it's a lot of like
Right.
lack of communication and also lack of self-value. Because if we don't have the self-value for this, a lot of people are afraid to go, I'm done, and move on. And a lot of people are afraid to not do that and stay still. So there's a lot of different
Right.
things.
I mean, I
Yeah.
feel sometimes a woman though, like if you're with a good woman, like who really, sometimes they see the potential in you, and they're trying to push you towards that potential. And sometimes you're just not ready, or you don't have that self-confidence in yourself to take that next step. And you become, I mean, myself, I've been working on an assembly line for the last 8 years, and I've become very complacent almost. Like I feel
Mhm.
very comfortable in the situation I'm in. I make good money, I get good benefits, and like that's okay with me. Like I'm okay with that. But I had recently had a girl try to push me towards, you went to school, like you could do better. Like you don't have to work. I work a night shift Monday through Friday. It's hard to see my son during the week and stuff like that. And it's like, you could do so much better for yourself and not have to work as hard. And I felt like she was pushing me towards that because that's what she wanted, so she could spend more
Mhm.
time with me. And I kind of got a little resentful about it when maybe that wasn't the case. I mean, even my ex-wife pushed me to go to school and get a degree. And I appreciate that because I wasn't going to do that on my own. Sometimes as a man, you need a kick in the ass from somebody to
Right.
because they see something more in you, and a good woman wants to build with you. They just don't want something from you. They want to build a life with you. And it's hard to find those women. It really is, because you have to be very careful. Some women just want something out of you. They just want that sense of security. They don't really want what else you're offering, that emotional connection. And I think the physical stuff only goes so far. Like when it comes
Mhm.
to sex, like, I mean, the sex can only, it's just a physical thing. There has to be it means so much more when there's that emotional connection that you have with a woman. Like, it's,
Right.
yeah.
I was gonna say, because you brought up the point, I have dealt with even myself in previous relationship where I was trying to push the man to do all of these things that he didn't want to do. And also in that same token, he was doing the same to me, trying to push me in a way where I didn't really want to go that way. And I think sometimes a lot of us, and I don't know if it's just women or men, but I think we date on potential. We date for potential, what we potentially want or what we potentially see that this someone can do. It doesn't matter though what you see this person doing. It's like what does the person see themselves? And if we're gonna date, then I have to accept you for who you are, right? If I'm dating you, it's not about changing you. And I think a lot of people date with that potential of changing. Or and a lot of women I've heard this have this kind of conception of molding a man. And it's just like, mm,
Taking on a reclamation project. Yeah. Build you from the ground up. I found them in the slums. I'll get into the suburbs.
doesn't work though. That doesn't work. I think that resentment you talk about, that, you know what I mean? That resentment. So how is it going to go far if all of a sudden now you're being pushed into something that you don't want to do? Because who's to say what you do is bad? Who's to say what you do? Because I think the word term settling has become this bad word. You know what I mean? It's become this bad word to say, "Oh my God, I'm settling for this." But if you love what you do, you see it as stability. You make good money. It provides for you, your healthcare, and all of this. How is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of hit on what Kyle had said about, but like, what happens if you do meet somebody and you do like their personality and who they are, but you do have your own goals? Like you want to live in a certain area, and not for egotistical reasons, but it's just like beautiful to you, right? Like I have certain towns that I drive through and I'm like, the aura is nice, like it's so peaceful. When I buy a house, this is where I aspire to be. And then, you know, you meet this person and you really do enjoy them, but their lifestyle is not conducive to the things that you want. Mm-hmm. So that may come across as shallow, like, oh, he doesn't make enough money. But, you know, where's that line between where it does become shallow, he doesn't have the job, he's not financially responsible, and when it's just not aligning with your goals and what you want for yourself?
I kind of think you need to call it like you see it, though, because if I meet someone, right, and I have all of this predetermination of what my life, where I want to live, the city, and all of this, and I meet someone who doesn't have those same characteristics, doesn't have that same plan, that is me being in my shallowness to think that this person should change for me just because I like this person.
Right. Right. So do you at that point give up on your aspirations for them, or do you give up them?
This is what I tell people. You have to make a decision in that moment, is because somebody's going to give up something in this particular situation, or eventually whatever happens, it crashes and burns. I'm not in the business of trying to change anybody to be the man or, you know, person that I want them to be. That's not where I am. I think at a certain point you get to that place to understand there is no changing someone. They are who they are. Right. So you have to find someone who matches you on some level where you two can come together and live happily. There is no changing. So what people do is, oh, I like you, and then, oh, we're going to change. No, that's setting yourself up for failure. And I think a lot of people do that wrong. And because behind what's really there, I'm afraid to be alone. I don't want to be alone. So I'm going to be with this person, and I'm delusional to think this person's going to change their life, or I'm going to have to change my life for this person. And we call it love.
Yeah. If someone does.
Now, I was working and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose, and the goddess I became.